The late afternoon sun cast a golden hue over the dense jungle, highlighting every twist and turn of the ancient trees. Alex adjusted his camera strap and took a deep breath, savoring the wild scent of rain-soaked earth. This was his world, a realm of mystery and discovery where every step held the potential for adventure. He had come to these woods countless times, but each visit revealed something new. Today, however, there was something different in the air. A strange tension made the birds restless, their wings flapping nervously through the emerald canopy. The usual chatter of monkeys had ceased, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to hum with anticipation. Just as Alex was about to move further, a powerful sound shattered the quiet. A deep, resonant trumpeting that carried desperation and pain. Alex's pulse quickened. The sound wasn't just any animal call. It was a cry for help. His instincts warred with his common sense. The jungle could be treacherous, especially when dealing with creatures as massive and unpredictable as elephants. Yet, an invisible thread of curiosity and compassion pulled him toward the source of the sound. Cautiously, Alex pushed past the thick vegetation, each step amplified by the crackle of dry leaves underfoot. His fingers brushed the rough bark of a towering tree as he steadied himself, peering into a clearing bathed in soft light. That's when he saw it, a majestic elephant, far larger than he had anticipated, standing in a vulnerable stance. The animal's trunk moved in slow, deliberate circles, touching its injured leg where a cruel metal snare had bitten into its flesh. The wound was fresh, blood oozing from it in thin rivulets that stained the earth below. The elephant's eyes, framed by heavy, wrinkled lids, locked onto Alex. They weren't wild with fear or anger. Instead, they mirrored an unspoken trust that took Alex aback. A million thoughts raced through his mind. What if he got too close and the animal turned aggressive? He had heard stories of elephants charging when cornered or in pain. His rational side urged him to turn back, to leave the animal to its fate and keep himself safe. But then the elephant lifted its head slightly, a subtle nod as if beckoning him forward. Alex swallowed hard, the weight of the moment pressing down on him like a storm cloud. He adjusted the knife strapped to his belt and took a hesitant step forward, feeling a surge of adrenaline course through him. Up close, the scene was even more harrowing. The metal snare, rusted and jagged, had dug deep into the elephant's thick leg. Flies swarmed around the wound, adding to the animal's distress. The sheer size of the creature was daunting. Even in its weakened state, it towered over Alex, its ears gently flapping as if to comfort itself. The elephant's eyes followed Alex's every movement, filled with an understanding that transcended the barrier between species. He couldn't help but speak to it, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm going to help you, okay? Just stay still." The elephant's trunk stilled, its body tense, but unmoving. Alex felt the urgency gnaw at him. Every second counted. He bent down, carefully maneuvering the knife into position against the steel, and began cutting. The metal resisted at first, stubborn in its cruel grip, but Alex applied more pressure. His muscles ached with the effort as he pushed, sweat trickling down his temples. Suddenly, the blade slipped, grazing the elephant's skin and causing it to flinch. Alex's heart stopped for a moment as the creature's massive body shifted, but it didn't retreat or lash out. Instead, it let out a deep, rumbling sigh and stilled once more. The trust was palpable, a silent agreement between man and beast. After what felt like an eternity, the snare gave way with a sharp metallic snap, releasing its hold. Alex quickly threw it aside and reached for the cloth in his backpack to stop the bleeding. He pressed the makeshift bandage against the wound, the warmth of the elephant's blood seeping through the fabric. The elephant stood still, its breathing deep and rhythmic. It seemed to understand the care Alex was taking, its massive trunk hovering just above his head. Alex dared a glance upward and found himself looking into the creature's eyes that now glistened with a strange mixture of pain, relief, and gratitude. Time seemed to slow as the elephant extended its trunk toward Alex, brushing his shoulder with the gentlest of touches. The sensation was electric, sending a shiver down his spine. It was more than a gesture. It was a communication, a wordless thank you that resonated deep in his chest. Alex's hands were shaking as he stepped back, the moment sinking in. The elephant tested its weight on the injured leg, wincing but managing to remain upright. A few cautious steps later, it turned to face Alex once more, a low, soft trumpet breaking the silence. Then, with a grace that belied its size, the elephant moved back into the depths of the jungle, leaving Alex alone with his thoughts. The following days were a blur of editing photographs and replaying the scene in his mind. The bond he had shared with the elephant haunted him, a connection so profound that it felt as if part of him had been left behind in that clearing. But life had a way of pulling him back into routine, and soon the jungle's call became a memory he revisited only in quiet moments. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with shades of orange and pink, a sudden glow on the edge of the forest caught Alex's attention. He stood at his window, eyes narrowing as he recognized the flickering dance of flames. The jungle was on fire. The alarm spread through the village like wildfire itself. People screamed, running to collect their loved ones and whatever few belongings they could carry. Alex's instincts kicked in as he grabbed his camera and a small bag, racing outside to help an elderly couple struggling to move. The roar of the fire grew louder, closing in with a heat that made the air suffocating. Just as panic was about to take over completely, a thunderous sound broke through the chaos. The deep, echoing call of an elephant rose above the din, silencing the village for a moment. Through the smoky haze, Alex saw the familiar silhouette of an elephant emerging from the tree line. It was the same elephant, unmistakable, with the now-healed scar on its leg. But it wasn't alone. A small herd followed, their movements powerful and synchronized. The leader, the very one Alex had helped, led the charge, trumpeting as it surveyed the scene. The herd moved as one, their trunks pulling down trees and shifting logs to create barriers that redirected the flames away from the village. The leader used its immense strength to push a heavy log into place, sweat glistening on its back as it worked tirelessly. The other elephants followed its lead, each contributing to the monumental task with unwavering resolve. Alex watched, his camera forgotten at his side, as the villagers stopped their frantic running and stared in awe. The elephants were not just trying to save themselves, they were actively protecting the village. It was an act of heroism that defied everything they thought they knew about wild animals. The minutes stretched into an hour, and the combined efforts of the elephants and the villagers began to pay off. The flames, once a raging monster, were pushed back, confined to a safe distance. The villagers, breathless and covered in soot, exchanged glances filled with disbelief and newfound respect. The leader elephant paused, its sides heaving from the exertion. It turned its gaze toward Alex, who stepped forward, meeting its eyes. In that moment, an understanding passed between them, a recognition of a shared history, a bond that had transcended fear and species. The elephant's trunk raised slightly, as if in a silent salute, before it turned and guided the herd back into the safety of the jungle. The village erupted into cheers, not for themselves but for the elephants, the silent heroes who had risked their lives to save them. Alex's footage, hastily captured during the rescue, made its way to news outlets and social media, spreading like wildfire itself. People around the world watched in awe as the story of the elephant's return unfolded. The video sparked conversations about the intelligence and empathy of animals, challenging people to rethink their views on wildlife. The villagers, once wary of the jungle's inhabitants, now spoke of the herd as guardians. The leader elephant became a symbol of hope and resilience, its story inspiring new conservation efforts and a deeper respect for nature. Alex found himself waiting at the edge of the village from time to time, camera in hand, hoping to see the familiar silhouette emerge from the trees. And sometimes it did. The elephant would stand there, a silent figure against the backdrop of the jungle, as if reminding Alex that true kindness never goes unnoticed, and that sometimes the most incredible stories are the ones that bind us to the world around us.